It's a minefield for the marauders at dawn, with the seventh piece of precious cargo on the horizon at the vanishing point of a singularity in Carbon Creek. All this while the stigma and judgment about the cogenitor will make a night in sickbay come to a dead stop as the shockwave of her life is far from future tense. Will the ceasefire at the crossing of the catwalk in Canamar cause her regeneration? Or does the communicator say she's made her first flight into the expanse with no bounty to seal the breach?
Hey! Yay! I'm Josh.
I'm Justin.
And this is From There to Here. So this is our Season 2 recap. We plan on not exactly going through each episode one by one. We're not going to be revisiting our grades or anything like that. We will be revisiting the episodes through Marie's comments and through Sebastian's comments. They had sent us something earlier about that. Upon that, we plan on building upon their thoughts and adding our own. Who knows where the discussion's going to go?
Could go anywhere.
We have no idea. But first,
it's a minefield out there.
It is. But first, I do have some trivia about Season 2. That I researched very thoroughly on the internet and by visiting maybe about 2 sites. So
and spent all of 5 minutes.
So for Season 2, some general trivia includes that Carbon Creek was in fact the first shot, and then it was Shockwave.
I knew that.
Justin's nodding his head like he already knew it.
Everyone knows that.
Rick Berman had just come back after completing work on Nemesis.
I didn't know that.
Okay. They wanted Patrick, when I say they, Brandon Braga and Rick Berman wanted Patrick Stewart to direct a few episodes. Patrick Stewart was very interested, but he didn't end up directing any. I don't exactly know why, but one of the things they were trying to work...
Well, obviously, because none of them starred Brent Spiner.
Yes. One of the things they were trying to work out was his scheduling, because he was working on X2 at the time. So that gives you the time frame that we're dealing with here.
He did X2 and Nemesis around the same time? Really? I would have sworn that X2 came a fair amount before that.
I don't know.
Oh, wow.
I don't know. This is what the internet said. Rick Berman and Brandon Braga, I'm assuming it was those two, wanted Guinan and Picard to make an appearance in the show via time travel of some kind.
Naturally.
Yeah, I'm glad they didn't do that. Roxanne Dawson and LeVar Burton both directed episodes in Season 2 as they had with Season 1, so they returned. Brandon Braga had said that he wanted to increase the tempo of the show with Season 2. Did he succeed? I don't know. He wanted more action, quote.
I think that was a success.
More action or the tempo?
Both. I think the show did pick up steam in Season 2.
Continuing on. After losing much of the writing staff from Season 1, Brandon Braga brought on John Sheabin, a writer from the X-Files. He was hoping that he would be the, quote, genius of the show. However, he left after 1 season due to creative differences. So that didn't work out.
I should say no.
Some storylines that they were hoping would mature or materialize. Justin didn't get that pun because he's not listening right now. He's looking at his phone. Archer fulfilling more of his potential as captain. That's something they were hoping he'd do. Mm-hmm. More temporal Cold War, but not to overload it. More interactions between the Andorians and Vulcans. That came to pass.
Yeah.
They were also open to William Shatner making an appearance in the show.
Yeah, I know.
I didn't know about that.
Yeah. He wanted a ridiculous amount of money.
The Romulans showed up, having never before being seen on Enterprise. Brandon Braga was aware of the continuity problem. He said, this is quote, "The continuity is airtight. Believe me, we know. We know." Romulans appeared about the same time as work was underway on Nemesis. After the end of Season 2, critic Scott Pierce said of Enterprise, as it wasn't an awful show. It's just, well, boring. He called the new story arc, introducing the Expanse, a promising idea, quote, but also added, it's pretty hard to get your hopes up too high for Enterprise. Critic Holly Ordway said that the second season looked to be more realistic, but instead came off as childish, as no one gets hurt or killed. She referred specifically to the episode Marauders as a missed opportunity for that. She called the finale a great reset button, looking to be more like Voyager, squandering the premise it had been given. Both Carbon Creek and A Night in Sickbay were nominated at the 2003 Hugo Awards for Best Dramatic Presentation Short Form, but lost to Conversations with Dead People, an episode of Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
Stiff competition.
I know, isn't that rough? At the 29th Saturn Awards, the series was nominated for Best Network Television Series, and Scott Bakula and Jolene Blaylock and Connor Trenier were nominated for Best Actor on Television, Best Supporting Actress on Television, and Best Supporting Actor on Television, respectively. However, the series did not win any of the awards it was nominated for. I thought that'd be a nice way to end the trivia.
Well done. Well done.
Okay, so Sebastian and Maria chimed in a little while ago with their recap of some of the things they like to highlight from season 2. So starting with Sebastian, he says, I'm especially interested which episode you consider best and worst of this season. That was his first thing he said. So of us, huh?
Well, let's see. I'm looking at the list of episodes. Best and worst. Let's see.
Well, right off the top of my head, I'm going to have to say Carbon Creek is up there.
It is definitely one of the best. Is it the best? I'm not sure. I'm just perusing the list of episodes. The Communicator.
I don't know. That one wasn't particularly.
No, I meant for worst.
Oh, for worst episode.
Yeah.
Okay. I thought we were still on the best. Okay.
That's the one where he, or am I thinking, I always confuse that with, I think, a season 1 episode. Maybe it's that season. Is the Communicator the one where they go down there and they meet the alien and he's got like a computer core or something?
Is that not the one with Dean Stockwell?
No. That's Detained.
Oh.
I think that's
someone loses their communicator.
Yeah, it's Malcolm. It's yeah, man, I always confuse those two.
Reed and Archer are captured and face execution when they return to a pre-warp planet to retrieve a communicator. Trip and Mayweather experiment with a Suliban cloaking device.
Yeah.
I don't have fond memories of that one.
I'm going to say then that one's probably the worst. As for even though a lot of people would probably go Precious Cargo.
I enjoy that.
At least Precious Cargo had entertaining parts.
It's not bad.
No, it's not as bad as people make it out to be. But as for the best, there's kind of some stiff competition.
What's the rogue planet, really, the rogue planet of season 2?
I think that is the Communicator.
Some would probably say Horizon.
That
was the lowest rated in terms of Nielsen ratings.
Yeah, I disagree. It's not perfect, but I was never bored during it.
Some would say A Night in Sickbay.
I disagree completely.
Well, some would say that's like the low point of Star Trek altogether.
So that's my vote for the worst, the Communicator. My vote for the best.
Canamar was pretty bland.
It was bland. I would say for the best, either First Flight or the Catwalk was pretty fun, although it did kind of fall apart when we rewatched it a bit. Minefield and Carbon Creek. So for the best, I'm going to say Minefield. I think just might be it's a tough call between for me, it's a tough call between Minefield and Carbon Creek, but I'm going to go Minefield only because it is quintessentially Star Trek, whereas Carbon Creek, as good as it is kind of it's like a holodeck episode, it's almost knocked that over. Whereas Carbon Creek is a bit of a holodeck episode where the events are not necessarily part of the actual plot of the show. The characters, it's a what if story in a manner of speaking. So I'm going to say best Minefield, worst The Communicator. Those are my 2 votes.
The best one is Minefield.
Yeah, that's
worst is The Communicator.
Yeah.
Interesting. I think it's a tie for me between First Flight and Carbon Creek is the best. Although there's a lot of other great ones, but I have to pick one.
Yeah. No, those are both fair.
As for the worst, that's a tough call because there are some stinkers in here, but...
What are you looking at for stinkers?
I would say... Canamar is one of them. The Communicator, I just found it kind of bland. I didn't...
The fact that I can't tell the difference between that episode and one that's in season 1 with a similar setting tells me that's the worst. Like it has no distinct voice to it at all.
What about Stigma? You really hated that one.
I didn't care for it. I mean, in retrospect, it was way too heavy-handed.
Philadelphia.
a lot of problems with it. Is it the worst? No.
Okay. Well, you had some choice words for it.
Yes, I did.
Day. I remember.
Yes,
that.
I did. But that's more of like a part of it was like a political thing, like just you're hitting me over the head, and then the other part was just kind of dull. You know,
I'm gonna say Marauders
for the worst.
Yeah, it was just boring. It was bland.
Okay,
it was a missed opportunity. That's one that we really rewrote. I remember.
Yeah, and that would have been a good one.
Yeah, there is no Rogue Planet or Terra Nova in here. There's no really bad ones, just really kind of dull.
Say what you will about those ones, but like when you look at TNG season 1, you know, what is often referred to as their worst episode, Code of Honor, is infinitely entertaining.
It's very entertaining.
No matter how bad it is.
Oh, yeah.
And it's a shame, you know, because when you get to Enterprise, the bad ones are just boring. Boring. Sub Rosa is also regarded as a real dud in season 7.
Don't like that candle.
But gosh darn it, we thoroughly enjoyed watching it.
I know.
And it had really great production value. It was actually fun to watch, you know, literally.
Yeah. And the acting was pretty good.
No, Gates McFadden really can do stuff. They never used her to her fullest ability.
Yeah. I mean, I felt bad for her that's what they gave her. Yeah, sure. But she did. I thought she did fine.
Oh, yes.
Well,
and I think Frakes directed that one.
Yeah, I think you're right. Other bad ones, I didn't mind Horizon. I thought it was fine. Horizon, I thought was fine. Let's see, what else do we have here? Precious Cargo again. I find humor in that. I find some enjoyability in there. Vanishing Point, it's a little dull, but it's particularly in its second half. But I didn't mind it. The Communicator, I can barely remember. Is that where they're like, it's like a fascist dictatorship? It's like they're Nazis on the planet.
On which one?
This pre-warp society for the Communicator. It is.
Is it?
Yeah, I'm looking at the still
Yeah. That's right. They go to like a restaurant.
Yeah,
and he's searching. The booth.
They're basically just Nazis on some other planet.
Okay, so that is not. I think the one I'm thinking of. I think is from season 1.
Okay,
where the guy has something built in. He has a shop. But he has
no. That's season 1.
That's what I said.
That was so long ago.
I know. That's what I'm saying. I mistook it.
We trashed that episode.
Yes, we did.
We called it very bland. I think it starts with a C. I think it does start with a C.
Oh yeah. No, but this episode, now that you said that about those guys, yes, now I remember that. I remember that not being.
It's okay.
It's okay.
It was just fine.
But quite literally, I couldn't even remember it. That's how much it stuck out.
A Night in Sickbay, again, I enjoy. I do not find it bad. I know people like to pick on it.
Why people bash that one?
I think it's funny. It makes me laugh. What do you want? Like, I don't know. I can't rate it badly because I don't think it's bad. So that, I guess, it answers his question. So Sebastian continues. My absolute highlight of the season is Dead Station. Oh, I didn't mention that one. That is a good one.
You mean Dead Stop?
His says Dead Station. I think maybe in Germany it's called Dead Station. Dead Stop must not be a thing in the German language, I'm guessing.
That's a fair point.
Especially regarding the current hype around ChatGPT and AI. This episode felt so up to date. I would have wished to meet this intelligent repairing station again. It feels like there are so many stories to discover around it. I think that's true.
Yeah.
I think it would be interesting enough for a very good movie. Would you like to see that movie too?
I don't know if it has the juice for a movie.
A movie? Like an Enterprise movie, or just an AI station? Is that what that's supposed to mean?
I think the problem is that the station is kind of like the Borg in a sense.
Yes.
But the Borg have actual people where you can interact. How long can you crawl around the station and keep it interesting?
The season 1 episode you're mixing up communicator with?
Yeah.
Civilization.
See,
I told you they both started with a C.
Yeah.
That's where the guy had the shop.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah.
Anyway, no, I think we ran into that problem about it being too similar to the Borg when we were discussing like rewrite possibilities. Like we kept running into like, well, is it the Borg? Is it not? Clearly it can't be.
No, it's not.
No, it's not. But our possible rewrite solutions kept running into that problem. I think that's what I remember. At least maybe in my mind, that's what I remember.
Yeah, I really don't remember exactly.
So Sebastian continues, and I'm interested in how far you think Enterprise found or failed to find a unique identity during this season. Well, I think it failed. Looking over these episodes, the breadth of them, I found that the first half, maybe, they were doing pretty well. Like that first half
I remember
of
we were
episodes,
really feeling it for a minute.
they were doing well. I thought there was a lot of good ones in there, but something happened halfway through and they just kind of fell off the wagon or off the tracks or whatever you want to call it. I mean, they were on a streak there. They had Carbon Creek, Minefield, Dead Stop,
A Night in Sick Bay,
Marauders, The Seventh, Communicator, Singularity. It's good. Vanishing Point. Precious Cargo, Catwalk, Dawn. He starts to go a little downhill, but then Ceasefire, Future Tense. It starts to pick up a little bit.
Yeah.
But their first, I'd say half, maybe close to a dozen episodes, were pretty solid. Solid.
They had a good run going.
Solid standalone episodes, and I thought that they had matured from season 1.
Yes.
They had introduced the Romulans with Minefield. They brought in the Romulans in a way that it didn't break continuity. At least not that I recall. Did it? Was it a continuity problem?
I don't think so.
Because they weren't supposed to meet the Romulans until Kirk's time, right?
Oh.
Or they weren't supposed to see Romulans.
Right. They did. Okay. So yeah. That's specifically referring to Balance of Terror, where Styles, the navigator, he's openly racist towards Spock.
Yes. Oh, God, I remember that.
And he's the one that specifically says, we have not seen them. We don't know what they look like, but you'll know them because of the way their ship looks. Like that video, this is a conifer tree, because of how it looks.
And of course, no one knows what you're talking about.
Okay. Might as well cut that. But anyway, yeah, Styles points out that no one knows what Romulans look like because it's been so long, yada, yada, yada. And that's the only thing. No one knows what they look like. I want to say they reference a war or a small war with the Romulans earlier, I feel like. But that would have been so long enough ago to where they wouldn't know it if they saw it. So what they see in this episode in Minefield, first of all, they never see the people themselves. All they see is a ship cloak and decloak from a distance. I really do think they did a good job of keeping continuity in check with that. I never felt a problem.
And like I said in a previous podcast, I don't really care for continuity that much, slightly. I mean, I like them to obey the rules to some extent, but if they bend it a little bit,
yeah, I can handle a little bending.
Yeah, it doesn't bother me. No, like whatever they did in Minefield, I was fine with, and it didn't seem to like break any rules that Balance of Terror set up.
Unlike, is it season 1, the one with the Ferengi?
What's
that one called?
Acquisition.
As much as I enjoyed seeing the Ferengi, it's ridiculous that they would have been captured on video, whatever.
Which was Die Hard on Enterprise, basically.
Yeah. So that to me was a fairly blatant continuity violation. When you get into Regeneration, you're also in that territory. Yeah. You're telling me there's no surveillance videos anywhere?
Yeah, that was ridiculous.
On the Enterprise, they would have them. Yes, they avoided the term Borg, fine. but their description and all of that, come on.
These scientists didn't take pictures, still pictures of them lying there with their board.
They would have taken scans like this. This would have been documented and keywords put in a search engine. So where in the 24th century, they could go, oh, wait, that's those guys.
You know, that was that episode, although people on the internet seem to agree it was entertaining. They didn't mind it.
Yeah.
But our consensus was, this is just pandering.
No, I know.
It was pandering.
I agree.
It's embarrassing because they're pandering. So what do you think about that question? I don't think you exactly answered it.
Is if it was a continuity violation?
No, to Sebastian's question. And how far you think Enterprise found or failed to find a unique identity during that season? I think they had it going well with standalone episodes, and that was kind of referring back to, well, they were capitalizing on the fact that they were a prequel series that dealt with technology and species that they hadn't quite run into yet, like Vanishing Point, which is not a beloved episode, but it dealt with the transporter and how they didn't quite have faith in it yet. And then Minefield had the Romulans, and it's introducing something that we know is going to come up later. I thought they were doing fine, but then I think they just fell off. Something happened.
No, I would have to agree with you. I would say that first half, they, I know I said it earlier, they really picked up steam. Like you said, they learned from, I don't want to say their mistakes, but they just learned from season 1 and improved the show. But then, and it was on a hot streak. But then, like you said, in the second half, it dipped. That they got into, stigma of a very obvious political allegory.
They got into things like, okay, they did Dawn, Ceasefire, Future Tense.
Yeah.
The Crossing, Judgment. Well, it was okay.
And Ceasefire was good.
None of these episodes really seemed to have a lot of weight to them. Like Future Tense was the temporal Cold War.
Yeah.
And you and I have said plenty of times by now, like this stuff, it doesn't really go anywhere.
Right.
It's okay to watch. It's entertaining, but it feels so hollow now.
Yeah, I agree. And I think that's what we said when we were talking about it, was that there's a good episode in here. If they had only made it just about the ship and it didn't have anything to do with the Cold War, probably would have been infinitely better. And we were, if I recall, completely fine with not having the mystery solved, unless that is how the episode actually.
Well, you mean solved who the pilot was?
Yeah.
We never find out who he is.
No, I know that, but I forget how the episode tied into the temporal Cold War. Did it?
Yeah. The Suliban show up. They want the ship.
But that's just because they know it's a time ship. Do they actually say it's connected to the temporal Cold War?
It has something to do with it in that way. And that these people, that Future Man is telling the Suliban that, hey, this ship is here. Go get it. It's from the future.
Well, I'm looking over the second half again. Dawn was okay. It was just...
Dawn was the one we got mixed up with Precious Cargo. We thought...
Dawn was Enemy Mine.
Right, but we thought when we're watching Precious Cargo...
Right, I remember
I thought this took place on the planet. Right. And they're like, no, that's 2 episodes from now.
Yeah. Yes. But yeah, Dawn was good, if not for being a remake of a movie.
Yeah.
Stigma, we already know. Ceasefire was... And when I say I'm starting with Dawn, that's episode 13. So literally the second half of the season.
Okay.
When we get to Ceasefire, it was entertaining and all, but you said something like something not having a lot of weight to it. And the episode itself presents itself as having a lot of weight, but there's no super big repercussions from it. I don't know. It's like, it's just not nearly as bad, but it's similar to the temporal Cold War, where they built up this animosity between the Vulcans and the Andorians, but it just kind of fizzled out, at least on screen. There was no super big resolution to it. And I mean, this episode was a cool way to get Gary Graham. into an episode who's always good. And they kind of...
Yeah, I agree. It's something that's kind of in the background.
Yeah.
And there's some animosity there, but it never really builds to any kind of crescendo.
No, it didn't. So that's my real beef.
Like, even in the end of that episode, it just ends with them in a conference room.
Yeah.
And it's kind of anticlimactic.
No, I agree.
Yeah.
But then you get into Future Tense, which was a good episode. Canamar, just like... No, I guess not like Dawn. Canamar could have been so much more. We realized how kind of slow the episode was, given what was happening.
I've already forgotten everything about Canamar. So,
and then you get to The Crossing, which I actually, when we sat down to watch it, I thought, oh yeah, this is that good one with the wisp and all that stuff.
Yeah.
And it turned out to be kind of I don't want to say a dud, but
it had potential.
It had so much potential, but it didn't hit the mark.
Mm-hmm.
It just did not. Judgment. All right. Again, we kind of did our own rewrites. That was a writer's room one that really turned around. Horizon, not bad. Not as good as it could have been, but not a bad episode.
Well, the internet is very hard on Mayweather.
I know.
And that episode was okay.
It was fine.
It was okay. There was nothing wrong with it. It's not that character's fault. It's the writer's fault.
No,
they never really gave him anything to do that was
totally
dramatic or anything like that. His character, as we've said, was perfect.
Yeah.
He has no flaws, which is unfortunate.
Which makes him a boring character, right?
Yeah.
But then you get into The Breach, which was a good episode. Cogenitor, of course, very good.
Well, The Breach had it was a good episode,
some problems,
but it was memorable.
Yeah.
But it was good, but it did have some problems. Okay.
It
but
did.
not to stay on that for too long.
No, it's fine. Then we get into Cogenitor, which they hit a high point. Then, in my opinion, it dips with Regeneration. For all the reasons we
Maybe I
talked
should
about.
revise my best of list. I didn't put Cogenitor on there.
Oh,
It really should be.
Maybe that should be like number one.
That's a tough call between Cogenitor and Carbon Creek. I think those two are the ones that I'd watch the most out of season 2.
Cogenitor, I would put in the same argument as Minefield in that it is quintessential Star Trek.
Yes.
Like, that's the kind of thing Star Trek, I don't want to say uniquely can do, but does in its Star Trekkiness very, very well.
Star Trekkiness. Okay.
But you go from that to what we perceive as a low point with Regeneration. Then they come back up with First Light. A little bit down with Bounty.
It wasn't a low point. Regeneration was just a flashy distraction.
Yes.
I was like, okay, can we get back to the show now?
So, long story, and then we get Bounty and The Expanse. So, yeah, I would say basically you're right. From 13 on, there's 1, 2, 3, 4-ish good episodes, and the rest are just kind of all right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I think if any listeners go back to us doing recordings for those first dozen episodes or so, we were hopeful.
Yeah.
We were hopeful, but then it just slowly started to fade away. We were just having some okay ones, and then, high note here and there, and then it would go back down again. So.
No, yeah, I agree.
So I think that answered his question. It did not find a unique identity. It sputtered about halfway through and just couldn't lock it up.
Yeah.
So back to Sebastian's email. No question, but FYI, I've added 9 episodes of season 2 to my personal rewatch list, which I'm going to use for another rewatch with my wife in a year or so. Here are the list of episodes he just mentioned: Carbon Creek, Dead Station, The Seventh, Ceasefire, Future Tense, Judgment, Cogenitor, Regeneration, and The Expanse. All right, well, thanks, Sebastian. So we're going to move on to Marie's email about her season 2 thoughts. She says, season 2 has its ups and downs, offering diverse experiences that can be appreciated differently depending on one's background. And she puts this in asterisks, Navy veteran perspective. So her unique perspective. Right. Under highs, she writes, Minefield. The intense scenario of navigating and diffusing Romulan mines showcases the crew's technical prowess and teamwork, akin to handling mines or unexploded ordnances at sea with precision and calm under pressure. Well, that's cool. I hadn't thought of it like that.
Yeah.
But that's true.
Yeah.
Lows, she writes, precious cargo. This episode's cliched plot and lack of depth feel like an uneventful patrol or routine exercise that doesn't challenge the crew's skills or offer meaningful engagement. That's an interesting way to think about it.
Right.
I guess. But routine is fun sometimes. It can be comforting.
Yeah.
Let's see. She writes underutilized characters. And under that, she says the minimal development of characters like Hoshi Sato and Travis Mayweather is frustrating, similar to having skilled sailors who are not given key responsibilities, limiting their potential impact on missions. Well, I think she's right. I mean, I really wish they had developed Hoshi and Travis
Sure.
a bit more. Hoshi didn't fare as badly as Travis, but they really did kind of leave them on the outskirts. And like we've said plenty of times, they were really going for Kirk, Spock, Bones vibe here and kind of relegating everyone else to the second tier.
Yeah.
Which is unfair to the rest of them. That they still could have they could have done that trio scenario and still given the surrounding supporting cast more to do.
In a way. I mean, if you're, comparing 1-to-1 to TOS, yes, Archer, T'Pol, and Trip are Spock, Kirk, and McCoy. So out of the original series, the person who I think very clearly got the most play was Scotty.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the next person on the Enterprise list for that would be, well, I think it's maybe a tie between the Doctor and Malcolm. But then you got your Sulu, Chekhov, and Uhura, and that is very clearly Travis, Hoshi. Well, Travis and Hoshi. So, unfortunately, for the most part, they're glorified extras. Yeah, sure. You'd have the occasional bit in the original series where either Uhura or Sulu or Chekhov.
Yeah. Well, she never got her own episode.
Who? Uhura? No, she did not. But neither did Sulu or Chekhov.
Well, I was saying Hoshi did.
Yes, I know. But she's still so blah of a character because she does not get enough play that, in my opinion, even though, yeah, she got one or two of her own, it didn't do anything.
Well, I think it hurts because I think they were trying to set up two different vibes here of it being like the original series, but also being an ensemble.
Yeah, they were trying to have the best of both worlds between TOS and TNG. And unfortunately, I think and I could be totally wrong about this, but I think maybe a reason for that, of it not happening in Enterprise, is that the magic of the TNG cast and just how well they played off each other and everything just clicked. Whereas with Enterprise, it feels like, for lack of a better description, it feels like an assembled band.
Yeah, like the Spice Girls,
like the Spice Girls,
yes.
or those boy bands. They're put together
like
by a committee. Yeah,
Backstreet Boys.
And even though, and you might have a particular friendship or vibe that kind of just magically happens because it's assembled in that way. It lacks a naturalness that the TNG cast was able to. It just came through, and then the writers picked up on things, and it all just went from there.
But the TNG cast was assembled in that way.
Yes, I don't think so though, and I think they were assembled to be an ensemble cast. I mean, yes, they never when they started the production, they didn't know that Worf was going to get as big as he did. They didn't know that Geordi would move down to engineering. They definitely made some tweaks as the series went on, especially in the first two seasons. But in my opinion, TNG was never cast with the intention of replicating TOS in the sense of the big three. They knew that this was going to be structurally different. They knew it was, yes, going to be focus harder on Picard and Riker, but they didn't have like a magical third person of that trio. They knew that they were going to go from location, sick bay to engineering to this and that. and that it would be more of an ensemble feel, even though.
So,
yeah.
Long story short, they were trying to mix the two, and
I
they
think
just
so.
didn't succeed.
I think they didn't succeed because they didn't, unfortunately, with Linda Park and Anthony Montgomery. I don't want to say casting. I shouldn't say that. They didn't write those characters in a way that made them interesting characters to write.
Could they have created some kind of Lower Decks vibe? And I mean Lower Decks like the show, the episode.
Yeah.
Not the show, the episode. Where we see Trip, Archer, and T'Pol having dinner in the captain's mess, right?
Yeah.
Why couldn't we have situations where we have Hoshi and Malcolm and the Doctor having dinner together?
Absolutely could have.
More often.
Yeah. And I think had they made an effort to do that, I think maybe those characters would have come to life
exactly
in a way that they didn't. Because like I said, I don't mean to imply it's the actors, like the casting of the actors. I'm sure they could deliver whatever material, was given to them.
In that episode, Lower Decks,
yeah.
Like we've never met those characters before, but they immediately establish who they are, what their attitude is like so quickly. Yeah. It is incredible. You feel like you've been around these characters forever.
Now that I would say was absolutely a testament to the casting,
Yes.
The guy, what's his name?
Which one?
The guy that's sucking up to Riker.
The character's name?
The character.
I don't remember.
I forget his name.
He's a Riker in training.
Exactly.
He looks just like him.
I and I remember him from Son-in-Law.
Yes.
but he's
a douchebag boyfriend.
Right. But in this, he's very likable.
Yes.
He kind of oozes charm and charisma, just like a young Frakes did.
Aren't you one too, sir? Grandfather? No, Canadian, sir. Canadian.
I know. He played that so well.
I know.
And of course, the Cedo Jax, she was infinitely adorable and cute and you could just
she
watch
had
her
no
for days.
Character in the first duty. She was basically a glorified extra there. But here, she in Lower Decks, she did
came
have a
right
character.
To life.
She did, absolutely.
Just like with the Vulcan guy. That guy, he's got that face, he's got the voice, he just perfectly does Vulcan, which is why they had him play a Vulcan again in Voyager.
Yes. Is he supposed to be the same character?
No. That would have been so cool though. He should in Voyager, he should have said, I have a brother. Vorik is on.
A twin brother.
Yeah, a twin Vulcan brother. He's on the Enterprise. I wonder what he's up to.
Why couldn't he be the same character?
He should have been.
Or did they not want to pay royalties to the writer of...
I would wager that's the case because if I'm not mistaken, that was the very reason why Tom Paris is not.
Right.
What's his name?
Nick Locarno.
Nick Locarno, which he basically was.
He basically
Nick
is.
Yes. I know, it's insane. It's so stupid.
I know. That would have been great, but...
I know I don't talk to my dad, but I haven't talked to my twin brother in a while. He even changed his name. He really hates being a Paris. Heard something happened to him in the academy. I don't know. I was in prison though, so I kind of missed it.
So you want to go back to what Marie was talking about?
Sure.
Okay, so she had said about Precious Cargo. I read that. And then underutilized characters. And then, coming up now, woman's perspective. Okay, so highs. T'Pol's development. T'Pol's character continues to evolve, showing complexity and depth. Her struggles with Vulcan discipline and her interactions with the crew offer a strong, multidimensional female character, resonating with the challenges and strengths women often navigate in their personal and professional lives. And she looks constipated while doing it. That's what Justin wants to say. No, I agree to some extent, not to everything she had said, but I think she has evolved a great deal.
You think a great deal?
Okay, maybe a great deal is a bit too much. As I said it, I knew that was too much. Somewhat, she has. I think she has. She's definitely softened up to the crew.
Yes.
Although she has said that directly in dialogue in one of the more recent episodes we watched. You could feel that anyway without her directly saying it.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed her in the 7th. I know that was one where you said she looked particularly constipated.
Very constipated.
But I liked it. She still can't raise her voice very well. This is something I guess Jolene Blaylock just can't do.
That's interesting. I hadn't thought about that.
No, that's what you said the first time I brought it up.
Did I say that?
I think so. But this was like
consistent.
It's like months ago. But I think you said something like, I think I know what you mean, but I haven't been able to put my finger on it or something like that. But I think she has evolved quite a bit. I really have enjoyed seeing her grow. The part about her that I enjoy the most is when she is in conflict with her emotions. I think that's what people find interesting about Vulcans, is to see when their emotions leak out. They're supposed to be masters of emotional discipline.
Right.
But clearly they're just full of shit some of the time.
Most of the time.
Yeah.
You know, though, I gotta say, I feel like this season kind of let her down.
Mm-hmm. I wish that, sorry to cut you off there, that Marie would have elaborated more on this part, where she said, challenges and strengths women often navigate in their personal and professional lives.
In regards to DePaul, I'm not really sure how that is reflected.
Well, that's why I wish Marie would have elaborated more on what she means by that. Challenges and strengths.
Yeah.
Personal and professional lives.
Of women specifically.
Yeah.
I can't think of, other than stigma, which didn't have to do with her being female. Mm-hmm. I can't think of any instance in season 2, really even season 1, where her her gender was.
I don't think that's what Marie is pointing at. I think she's trying to set up by the mere fact that she is a woman. Just that part.
Right. And yeah, I knew the way I was phrasing that was sounding like it was going somewhere else. But,
okay.
But no. I know what she means, but I still can't think of any episode or even a scene for an episode that kind of highlighted a professional female, in any specific way, like shined a light on it. I really can't.
No, I don't think there was. No.
I just, for the life of me, I can't.
Mm-mm.
So,
again, I don't think that's what Marie is getting at. I think what she means is it's akin to maybe like Uhura.
That's what I was just going to say.
On
just
TOS.
The fact that she's there, a female in a power position and so on.
Well, just, yeah. I mean, she's working with a bunch of men. And,
you could say that about Hoshi.
Yes, but Hoshi was childlike practically.
Yeah.
This was T'Pol is a woman that's supposed to be well established in her career, quote,
sure.
Is equal to men, that kind of thing.
Right.
Hoshi never pretended to be. She always felt like she was just kind of the underdog, just a little kid compared to everybody else who was an adult.
Right. No, I guess so.
So Marie continues, cogenitor. This is under highs as well.
I saved the cogenitor, Captain.
This episode addresses gender identity and equality, focusing on the ethical treatment of a third gender in an alien species. It raises important questions about human rights and dignity, reflecting ongoing social issues. Best episode of the season! !
Well, I can't really argue with that.
Mm-hmm.
I know when we did our watch of it, we universally liked just about everything in the episode, other than some like maybe minor, he would have been caught if he was gone this long or something like that. But that's just thinking about it too much. But
I remember you and I, did we disagree on some of the finer points in that episode? I think we did.
I do believe you and I came to quite the disagreement on the end.
On the ending, that's right.
Yeah.
On what Archer chose to do.
And whether or not he
was correct
really
or not.
Believed it.
Yes. Because he clearly disagreed with the way the cogenitor, was being treated.
Yes.
But he allowed them to take her back.
Right.
Anyway. And then
because she did ask for asylum, did she not?
She did.
Yeah.
And they rejected it.
But
he did dress down Trip, which he deserved.
Yes.
Trip did deserve that.
Yes. But was he or was he not right in not accepting the...
He said Tripp was responsible. I don't know if
that's what we argued about. Was Tripp responsible for
and I think
her
we
death?
kind of argued about that. That's right.
Because you said
did he pull
wasn't.
Did he pull the trigger? No.
Right. But I said he was. That's where we came to a very distinct difference. You ultimately said at the end of the day, no, he's not responsible. He's responsible for setting the events in motion, but is he actually responsible for her death? You said no. I said yes, which was interesting. You know, I think no matter what side of the fence you sit on with that, I think a very valid argument could be made. So it really just comes down to a slight degree of personal thought process that puts you on one side of that fence or the other. But I think that's what's so interesting about the episode is you could go back and forth all day about that, and with thoughtful discussions about it. And it was, damn fine writing. And
it really is one of the best of the season.
Yeah.
Again, I think to revise my list, I think it's a tie between maybe that and Carbon Creek. I don't agree with some people's points of view on that episode.
On Carbon Creek?
No, on Cogenitor.
Oh.
I think they're adding in a lot of modern day,
unfortunately,
politics and what's the word I'm looking for?
Woke.
Societal issues, that kind of thing, into their opinion. It's influencing it. I don't do that. I never have done that when watching that episode. I still don't.
And I don't think that's at all what the episode was actually about.
No, I don't think so.
As we pointed out
but
in the watch for the episode, that episode was made well before this was a hot button issue in society. So that's just not at all what this episode is actually intended to be about at all.
And I agree with you.
It really wasn't about gender politics.
But that's what people are bringing up now.
I know. Well, of course, they're going to see it through that lens, but you cannot watch the episode through that lens. You can't do it because that's not what the episode is about. The episode is about individual rights, not gender. They just made this a non-gender person so that it was different.
Yeah, that was not the focus of the writing.
No,
but people had made that a focus past tense.
Yeah.
I don't agree with that, but that's how criticism works. You can apply whatever critical lens you want.
Yeah.
There's various philosophies of criticism. If you want to use that kind, fine. I won't though.
I agree.
Continuing on to Lowe's. That's what she has here. Lowe's. That's next. So at the end of Bounty, not okay that Phlox did not tell T'Pol whether or not they had an encounter.
We talked about that.
She needed to know.
Yeah.
And she put 4 exclamation points after that. Not cool. 3 exclamation points. Worst moment all season.
I pointed that out, didn't I?
Did you?
I think I did. I think I really highlighted in our talk about it that he actually left her dangling on that. And that's not very nice.
Did I agree with you on that? I feel like I did.
I think you did.
I do now. Yeah.
I don't think there's any other way to see that.
Yeah, I don't see why he would do that other than to be cute in the moment, and then like maybe 5 seconds later, say, "Oh yeah, like I'm just
that
kidding."
would have been okay.
Nothing happened.
Yeah,
yeah.
I mean, of course, even for 5 seconds, it's slightly cruel, but she's Vulcan, so it's like playing with her Vulcanness a little bit.
Yeah,
If they had gotten to the door and he went, "I'm just kidding. It was totally fine. I just wanted to see the look on your face." Something like that.
Up next from Marie, limited female representation. She goes on, the series could benefit from more prominent and varied female characters. The lack of substantial roles for women beyond T'Pol and Hoshi can feel limiting, missing opportunities to explore diverse female experiences and perspectives. Well, we both know that women don't belong in the workplace, Justin. So,
well, they're too emotional, and they can't make the big decisions.
No, they cry all the time. It's just.
We all know where their place is, and it's in the galley. Chef is a woman.
Yeah, she could be. We don't know. No, I mean, to some extent, I think
we are joking.
Yeah, obviously. No, I don't care much for representation, quote, but
like representation casting
for that sake. No, I don't care for that.
Right.
I thought that the women that they had on the show did fine. If they wanted to have another woman on there, I wouldn't have a problem with that, as long as they're not casting her because she's a woman.
Right.
That the character brings something to the show.
Right.
Other than her femininity. That's not the reason.
Yeah. I mean, my God, I know I've gone into
diatribes
about this, but if you watch Discovery, it's literally, you could take Q from his first episode on Voyager when he goes to get the other Q guy that wants to kill himself. And he goes, because the other guy, Q, had made all the men disappear. And Q goes, what is this? Ship of the Valkyries? That's what he would say if he landed on Enterprise. He would say, where are all the men? It's all women everywhere.
Is it really?
Yes. And that's what it feels like. And it feels obvious. Yeah. And those that are not women are either a gay man or a man of color. That's it. There is a white male, but he's the gay one.
Oh, wow.
And all the other men are people of color, with the exception of Pike for the one episode, but they could only not do that to him because he was an established character.
Okay.
And they kicked his ass right out of season 2 and then went right back to DEI casting. So, yeah.
Okay.
I see what she's saying. And, in listening to Marie's comments, it's actually really very interesting to me, the perspective that Marie has in the comments that she's made here, and in the variety of comments that Sebastian has made, that I have wondered, are they culture based, because he's in Germany. And he even wrote back about that, which turned out to be a fair observation, that his
country's past,
and his mindset. Culture does influence how he sees an entertainment show like this. We went on the last episode
where he called Captain Picard
Captain America.
Captain America.
Yeah. And we would never think of him that way, but he does. Isn't that interesting?
It wasn't Picard. It was Kirk.
Oh, sure.
Picard was the diplomat.
That's right. Sure. But basic idea. And then Marie is seeing or wanted to see more of a representation of what's it like being a female professional at that status level. It doesn't even have to be like an episode actually about it, just show it, in some fashion. And I get what she's saying when she says that. And when she says that there's only 2 females that are really in the cast, although the cast itself really isn't all that big. But I mean, I think ratio wise, it's not bad, but I still see what she says. Enterprise is definitely a male dominant show. Whereas when you actually give a little thought to TNG, it's pretty diverse, not just in the main cast as far as male, female, but guest stars, things like that. You get a mix. Yeah. Whereas Enterprise does tend to be male. So it's interesting that she, as a female viewer of it, really picked up on that and really felt a lack of representation, for lack of a better word. That's interesting to me.
Well, the way I see it is, from my point of view, I've never considered race or gender when I'm looking at somebody to look up to or emulate. Like, when I was younger, I wished I could write as well as Jessica Fletcher. I mean, come on. Like, I didn't care. Like, she's a woman, so what? I was like, she's an author. That's great.
Yeah. That's because she's at home where she belongs.
No, those kind of things I never considered them.
Right. But you wouldn't, because you're male.
Well, so says you. I'm telling you from my point of view, like it wasn't a thing for me. Like right. I never thought about it. I looked at the character traits, the qualities there. I didn't think about any of that other stuff. Of course, there are things that are inherently masculine that I liked, but
right. But I'm just.
Are we getting off track here?
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
I think I'm making the observation, maybe even the leap, in saying that when you're describing that, because most, at least up till a certain point of recent time, most shows or movies starred males and things like that. So as a male, you never thought about it. It never occurred to you
most movies,
oh gosh, most
there's no women or in
no, I'm not saying
shows
there's none.
movies?
I'm just saying the dominant stars of this and that are usually male. A lot of shows, many shows are male dominated. So as a male, you wouldn't necessarily even pick up on it. It would just seem normal.
I don't think they were male dominated. I don't know where you're getting that from. You're just pulling that out of your ass.
No, I'm not.
Yeah, you are.
No, I'm not.
You're not reading anything. You're just pulling it out of your butt right now.
Who said I'm reading anything? I'm addressing.
No, but you're just pulling this out of your ass. Oh, they're male dominated. Says who? Says me? That's what you're saying. I was like, well, I don't think so. I think you're wrong. I don't think they're male dominated at all.
Well, Marie, do you agree with me or not? I'm curious.
Well, but the male dominated part? Well, clearly she's going to agree with you. She just wrote a grievance about not being enough female representation.
That's the point I'm making. It's just the viewpoint.
This wasn't about viewpoint. You just made a declarative statement saying that shows and movies were male dominated.
Aren't they largely?
No, I don't think so. I think throughout history we've gotten an even mix.
You think? Okay. I would not say it was an even mix, honestly. And even if,
who does the man fall in love with? There has to be a female character in there.
Well, you're perfectly addressing them. And I have no idea why this show is the one that popped into my head. I do not know why. Lost in Space, right? You have women on the show, but they're not doing anything of any substance. It's the men that are doing it. So they may be represented, but they're not represented well, I would say. I'm just trying to address Marie's comments, and I'm curious about her perspectives and why we weren't even, it didn't even occur to us. And why is that? That's just what I'm asking. Consider it more of an open-ended what if.
I just think you're just being a little bit of a pussy, and you're just dancing on fine lines right now.
I'm not dancing on it.
No, you never want to offend anybody. So
I never said that.
No, that's what you're doing.
I totally disagree with you.
Whatever. Fine.
Lord in heaven.
Fine.
Trip killed that progenitor as if he pulled the trigger himself.
So Marie continues, Floridian perspective, because Marie is from Florida.
Oh, I was like, what?
Yeah. Okay. Lowe's. And she puts, really? Florida? As in the end of
right
of the series,
the
Florida is attacked.
Season, yeah.
She has a bunch of emojis after it of screaming faces or crying faces or angry faces, something like that. I'm not really good with emojis. And then she signs Kapla. So thank you for sharing your thoughts on season 2 with us, Marie. Certainly got Justin and I pissed at each other for a little bit.
You got pissed.
No, because you were putting words in my mouth.
Not what I meant to do.
Well, that's for season 2. Would you like to wrap it up, or would you like to go on and
well, did Marie have anything, or that Florida thing was just the last?
I just said she signed off Kapla.
Oh, sorry.
Had you been paying attention, you would have heard that.
Yeah. So let me take a gander real quick at the episode listings to see if there's anything that I think deserves special note. So John Wick, I think we all know about Carbon Creek. Dead Stop, we covered Minefield, Sick Bay, Marauders, the 7th. We did kind of skim over the 7th, and that I remember when we talked about that episode a lot, we were really taken with the set design and the way they filled that bar, and it felt
alien.
It not only felt alien,
otherworldly,
it felt bigger.
Yes.
It didn't feel cheap. Like they had that set, which was filled with extras. Whereas, and I know I compared it to like TNG or Voyager when they've gone into places and there's like 2 people there.
Yeah, right.
This felt kind of real. Yeah. And then they have the whole exterior of the landing.
And it was snowing.
Yeah.
We really like that. We really
never get texture like that in Star Trek. So I know we really enjoyed that, and we enjoyed, even though they didn't use him nearly as much as they could have, Bruce Davidson. Mm-hmm. Like he was just good. Yeah.
I remember the weak point we had about that was his backstory about what happened. That flashback that T'Pol was having about what she did or didn't do. Yeah. That was kind of a weak point. But other than that, I thought it was pretty strong.
Yeah, it really was. Yeah. And I know we said we had wished other episodes looked like that. Singularity was fine. Catwalk. I know our biggest gripe with that was, don't they have two? Like they have one on the other side. Why do they got to be?
And they go back to the catwalk a few episodes later in the Wisp episode.
Yeah, they do.
And we were like, we just saw this. We were just here. they set up the same thing. Like they set up a bridge inside the catwalk.
They did. And it makes me think of that TNG episode, Eye of the Beholder, when you see inside their warp engine and it's just this big empty space. Remember that's what what's his name? Daniel something he jumps into.
What are you talking about? You said TNG episode.
Yeah, Eye of the Beholder.
Oh, right. Yeah, he jumps into the matter stream or something like that.
But then when it's all turned off, they show, I think it's looking at Troy, and you see from what's clearly the front end, and you see just how big it is. And it's this big empty space. If they just put a couple floors in there that were like heat resistant, you could throw the whole crew in there and have a whole episode, just something I was thinking of. Judgment. Yeah. I guess maybe I'll just highlight one more time that you and I both really enjoyed First Flight and how,
or The Right Stuff in Space.
Yeah. The Right First Flight. And how we just really wish the first season of Enterprise had been that or variations on that. And what an interesting series Enterprise could have been if that was the first season. The second season was them just getting out into space. And then, hell, even do season 3 the way they do with the Xindi and all that, like some big threat to Earth. And then wrap it up with what was season 4, which so wonderfully started to connect the dots between Enterprise and TOS. But it's just... Even if season 1 had been as relatively strong as season 2 was, I think people would talk very differently about Enterprise. If Cogenitor had been in season 1, people would have really taken more note. If Carbon Creek or any of the Minefield, if those had been season 1 episodes, I really think Enterprise.
Instead, we got Rogue Planet and Terra Nova.
I think Enterprise would have gone in a very not so much different direction, but it would have built up a steam to where they never wanted to go below a certain point. They'd realize, oh wow, we do that kind of stuff really well. We should do more of that, and then I'll bet the series would have continued, but we'll never know.
Yeah, I agree with your sentiments. I think, by and large, the series it couldn't find its footing. It looked like they were maybe going to find it in the first half of this season, but then just fell off. We still did get a few occasional good episodes. One really great one, The Cogenitor.
Yeah.
But after that, it's like the series just cannot make up its mind. What does it want to be?
Yeah.
And the writers, I feel like sometimes they're handcuffed, sometimes they're not. Because sometimes they knock it out of the park.
And sometimes it's just plain Scott Bakula holding himself in.
Champing at the bit. I know. It's very frustrating because the show clearly wanted to be more than it turned out to be. And it's really been kind of so far it's been a very, I wouldn't say depressing. It's too strong of a word. It's been lackluster. It's sapped my nostalgia for the show.
Yeah.
Let's put it that way, if I want to use that phrase.
Well, I remember, I don't know if it was in season 1 or season 2. I forget what episode prompted me to say it, but I had said, having gone through the rewatch up to that point, that I had downloaded the whole series and put it on my Plex server. And I was thinking of deleting it because I was like, after watching this with you, even at that point, I said, I'm just not going to go back to this series outside of a couple standout episodes. And you were like, no, it's Star Trek. Don't delete it. But I really thought to myself, I think I'd rather go back and watch the animated series of TOS than most Enterprise episodes, even the ones that are okay, I'm just not drawn to it.
A lot of things have fallen short of our memory so far.
Yes.
Like I remember us really hyping up 2 days and 2 nights.
Really did.
And I know that's a season 1 episode, but by the time we got to it, it was just kind of okay.
And they did too. They spent like 2 episodes building up to them going.
Oh, that's right.
But it was a letdown.
It was just a letdown. And some, like I said, some have held up. Carbon Creek, Cogenitor held up. Minefield held up. But then, like Precious Cargo, although it's been trashed. Night at Sick Bay, it's been trashed. I still think it's kind of fun. I mean, where's the trashing part? What are you talking about? It makes me laugh. The girl in Precious Cargo, she's very hot. I don't mind looking at her. And I like Connor Trinneer. He's funny. That's when he's not being petulant.
I'm glad you mentioned Connor Trinneer, because even though Marie felt that T'Pol showed considerable growth, I kind of feel like she just made a little bit of growth. But I really feel like not Connor Trinneer, but Trip made growth. And to the point to where I may have only awarded him his own award one time, just a little bit, because his character truly has grown, and you really feel that. And yeah, that's just an observation. I do have a question for you though.
Okay.
So
is it a fair question?
Yes. So now that we're done with 2 and we're going into the Xindi arc, I don't know about you, but outside of a handful of moments, I really don't remember a lot of details about season 3. Is there anything going into season 3 that you're looking forward to see? Like, you have a memory of sorts of this character having a bit more of an arc or having more growth. Is there anything you're looking forward to specifically?
I remember a few select episodes, and I remember a few episodes from those episodes, a few moments from those episodes.
Yeah, like Twilight. Everyone remembers Twilight.
That one, I had forgotten about it till you just brought it up. Yeah, certain things I remember.
Carpenter Street.
That one I'd forgotten about.
That Carpenter Street has the actor that was in the Voyager episode where he played a hologram, but he was a killer. What? Leland Orser is, I think, the actor's name.
It's a Voyager episode?
Yeah. And he calls them organics, and he's an isometric hologram.
The guy that was
like, you humans, you mash all that food in your face, and you're disgusting.
That guy from Seven who was freaking out.
Yeah, and he's like, you disgust me.
Yeah,
all of you disgust me.
That guy can act like that so well, so crazy. He was in Taken. He's been in a bunch of stuff.
I think he played a druggie in Carpenter Street when they go back in time. I think.
Oh, did he? Well, that dude's just very good at playing that particular type. He's very good.
Remember him in Confidence? He was in the opening.
Yeah. I got to get out of here. He's always good at playing crazy.
Why would you fleece Lionel Dolby? My 6-year-old niece could fleece that guy.
And there's another movie nobody's ever seen.
I know.
It's too bad because it's really good.
Yeah.
So where were we going? Oh, yeah, about season 3. Yeah, there's nothing. I remember the Xindi arc kind of generally, in general moments, but nothing specifically. I remember my first impression of it was I really enjoyed it. I do remember there being clunkers, like really bad ones in there. I know there's some really bad ones.
Oh, right.
But it didn't bother me so much at the time because when I was watching this season 3, it was when you let me borrow your DVD box set. Like I did not watch season 3 of Enterprise in its initial airing. So I got to just kind of, that's a crappy episode, whatever, just go right to the next one. So I was fine with it. Okay. And I remembered really enjoying this season long arc. This was not a thing yet.
No.
When I was watching it, this was back in like 2000.
Well, DS9
8 or something like, but not a season long arc. This was new. This was kind of new.
Yeah.
So I enjoyed that. It was new for Star Trek. Yes, DS9 did kind of do that here and there, not that long.
They had the Dominion War going on.
Yeah, but this was like a very concentrated, season-long, isolated thing. And I thought that was pretty daring. It didn't pay off for them in the end, but but I remember liking it. So I'm looking forward to what I'm actually going to feel about it now.
Yeah.
So I don't know how many years it's been since I've seen it.
Oh, it's been a while. It's been a while. I mean, I dare say when the DVDs came out that I probably did a rewatch of the series, but outside of that, yeah, I don't remember. I can barely remember anything from season 3. I know the Makos are there, and it's got RFK from 13 Days.
Really?
Yeah, he plays the lead Mako guy, Major something.
Oh yeah.
And he and Malcolm and he have a beef.
Yes.
And I remember he dies.
Yes.
And
maybe we shouldn't reveal too much to each other, since we're going to might inadvertently spoil it for ourselves.
No, but I remember, much like Voyager as a series, the introduction of the Makos I felt was a cool idea.
They didn't take it all the way out.
That they did not take to its fruition.
No.
And if you're going to have
there was the hot girl Mako. Of course,
there was the hot girl Mako.
Yes.
There you go, Marie. And if
that's female representation.
Yeah, it is. and if you're going to have Marines on your ship, man, use them a lot. And don't have them just have I actually remember liking the power dynamic between Malcolm and Major what's his nuts and
Major RFK.
Yeah, Major RFK. I remember that, and I actually remember a bit of dialogue with Malcolm where he said, "I know guys like that," and he has this totally wrong impression of this guy, and that they had to kind of find a respect for each other. I remember enjoying that, but like you said, at the end, it doesn't deliver. You know, the promise that was given to us at the start of the season, it just didn't deliver. And I think that comes right back down to Star Trek and its own built-in limits. And that doesn't have to be a problem. If you know what those limits are and you know how to hit those limits and hit them hard. But when you try to be more than what you are and you lack the capacity to do it, then it's going to fall flat. You know, if your top speed is 60, you could go 0 to 60. You could do all that stuff, hard stops at 60 and it'll be fun. But if you try to go 80, you're just going to peter out. And I think it's probably Enterprise as a whole tried to go faster than what it really was or really could.
Well, that's an interesting analogy.
I just made that up.
Going faster? I don't know about that. I always felt like they said it's a cruise control. They were just always at 40.
Well, yeah. But then, they build in concepts like the Xindi arc, and they wanted to be gritty and, like a war show for a while, but they just didn't quite know how to get there. Just like the, lack of use of the Makos, for example. Yeah, just a thought.
Well, okay. So we're coming up to next week.
Yeah.
First episode of season 3, and it's the Xindi, right?
That's what it's called? Just going to look. I think it is. Yeah. I'm pretty sure that's the first episode.
Are you looking it up right now?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. No, it's the Xindi.
Okay. I don't remember what happens in that first episode, so I'm looking forward to seeing how it all begins and how it's all going to slowly disappoint me.
I just saw in the episode listings an episode that until I saw that, I had completely forgotten about.
Should you tell me about it? I don't know.
Can I tell you the title?
Sure.
North Star.
Should that do something for me?
If it doesn't, I can't wait till we get there.
North Star. There's something familiar. I can't quite place it.
This would be the fistful of datas of Enterprise.
Oh, no.
They went there.
No.
They were so desperate.
Oh, you shouldn't have reminded me about that.
In the middle of a war arc, they did that.
No.
That's like having the kid. Once a show introduces a kid,
once it introduces Oliver comes on, it's over.
You're done.
It happened there. It happened in Growing Pains.
They did it Married with Children. Whenever they have a new kid that shows up, the writers are like, "We got nothing."
Is that their jump the shark?
I think it is. And you're right. Growing Pains. They all do it, or when they do it, you know where you're going.
All right. See you next week in, not in the Expanse. We're in it already. When we run into the Zindi.
We just got there.
Okay.